Welcome, everybody. This is the first in a series of videos about freedom in New Hampshire. And today our topic is political freedom. My name is Mark Warden. I'm the host with Porcupine Real Estate. We are a boutique real estate firm specializing in working with liberty-loving people moving to New Hampshire. We're already here looking for property where you can just be left alone. And we always support property rights and individual freedom and property ownership. Tonight, we are very fortunate to have Melissa Creem on the call with us. She is the chairperson of the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. And welcome, Melissa. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, also specifically about New Hampshire Liberty Alliance?
Hello, I'm Melissa Creem. I am the chair of the NHLA, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. I have been in New Hampshire for 30-something years, so I'm not a free stater, I'm a pre-stater, but I definitely support Porcupine Real Estate and the Free State Project itself. I love New Hampshire, and so the NHLA that I am the chair of, we are keeping New Hampshire as free as we can by watching the State House, by watching the legislature in New Hampshire.
I like to say that the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is the best all-volunteer pro-liberty organization in not only in New Hampshire, but the entire country. And it seems like you have a tremendous team there working for your organization, all volunteers, as I understand it. And how does that work when you review bills, monitor them, and hold legislators accountable?
So yeah, we are all volunteers. Thank you for saying that. I always forget that, but yes, we are all volunteer. So the way it works in the state of New Hampshire, we are kind of fortunate in a way that our legislature is in session pretty much, let's say, January to June. It's not a full year. So that helps us out at NHLA. And what we do is we get from the state all of the bills that are going to go through the State House from January to June. So we get the bills in their, kind of their original form, if you will, and we're watching them. And then NHLA, this group of volunteers, we have a section of them called bill reviewers. They are reviewing every single one of those bills to evaluate them on their liberty status. Are they pro-liberty, anti-liberty, or neutral? And we create from those reviews what we call is the gold standard. And the gold standard is saying, okay, here's HB 1178, and it is pro-liberty, and it has a little statement about what that bill is. And it might be, we're letting raw milk be sold in grocery stores. Let's say it's that one. And so we're going to say that that's pro-liberty. We're going to put it on the gold standard. And then we get that gold standard into the hands of our legislators at the State House when that bill is going to be voted on. We email it to them. We have volunteers, again, that are handing that out. And then we watch how the legislators vote on that bill and the others on the gold standard. Do they vote with liberty or against liberty? Do they vote for the bill or against the bill? And so then we create a scorecard from watching them. So we get all that data in, and we're going to create a scorecard called the Liberty Rating. And then we can see at the end of the session. So then June, the session ends, and we create the Liberty Rating, and we see where those legislators ended up. Were they A+ reps, voting with liberty pretty much 100% of the time? Or were they what we call constitutional threats, voting against liberty nearly 100% of the time? And so then once that's all done and evaluated, we endorse B+ reps and higher. We give them our stamp of, hey, you're a liberty rep, and we send them some money when it comes time to reelect them. That's the short story.
I served in the legislature in New Hampshire 4 different terms. I was elected in 2010, 12, 18, and 20. And I can tell you those gold standards that you provide are super helpful. The reason being is they're just something like 1,000 bills that course through the legislature every term. It's impossible to understand them all or know what's going on. I mean, it's all you can do to keep up with your own committee, which may see 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 bills in a session. So you may be familiar with those, but there's no way you're going to be familiar with the other 900 bills that go through the other committees. So thank you for providing that invaluable service. And it makes it easy. If you're pro-liberty and you know New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is on the right side of principle, then it makes it super easy to vote your conscience and do the right thing on voting day.
Well, and what I like about it, the Liberty Alliance and the gold standard, is that we don't just say this is a pro-liberty bill. When you get that gold standard, the bill itself is there, the title, and then our reasoning for why we're saying it's pro-liberty. It's not just, hey, it's pro-liberty because NHLA said so. We give you the statements for why we're backing it, or why we're saying it's anti-liberty, why, and so you can kind of glean from that what you will and go, oh, I see their point here, and hopefully vote with us, as the case may be. So, and it's not, I just want to be clear that I am the chair of the NHLA. I love them, but for me, bill review is not really my forte. But we have some brilliant bill reviewers who are out there doing this for us. And our research director, Jeremy Downing, he oversees the bill reviewers, and he's the one who is responsible about that gold standard. And that people email him and say, hey, why are you doing this? Why do you agree with that? What, and he defends it and he tells them why. But we have a group of bill reviewers who have done a lot of the work as well.
What I love about your organization, Melissa, is that it's nonpartisan. So in some bills, you'll have all the Democrats really happy. You're supporting, for example, decriminalizing or legalizing cannabis, just as an example. Another time you're cutting taxes, you support, reduction in the spending and the budget. So Republicans are cheering that and the Democrats are not. So you're totally neutral, totally on the side of liberty in a nonpartisan way.
We really are nonpartisan. I will say that we get accused of being on the more right of things. And I will say, I've kind of looked at this, and I think it's because libertarians had a hand in writing the Republican platform in New Hampshire. And so it's kind of making it, it's kind of skewing it a little bit, and it's not really fair because it makes it easier for Republicans to look more pro-liberty. But yes, we get the emails from the Republicans when we're, promoting sex work and, legalizing cannabis. I get those emails, and then we get the emails, oh, what do you mean you're not going to give money to, tax dollars to some, why don't you want to expand Medicaid? It's, so we get it on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. If you're a small L libertarian, you're very welcome in the Republican Party in New Hampshire. That's why we're different than other states. In fact, that's the slide that's up right now, is why is political freedom greater in New Hampshire compared to other places? Well, one of the reasons is that it's so accessible. Maybe you can speak to how many legislators there are, what it costs to run a political campaign to get elected to the state house. And this will give people who are new to New Hampshire an idea that, yes, you can make a difference here as somebody who doesn't even want to be a big politico or a big politician. You can actually get elected and make a difference.
Yeah, New Hampshire is really unique. We have, I think it's the third largest governing body in the world. We have 400 representatives in our House. 400 for a state the size of New Hampshire. That's kind of amazing. And then we have 24 senators in the Senate. So that's 424 representatives for our little state. And so that means that in New Hampshire, it's really easy. I think it's really easy to know your state rep. I drive around and I see their plates all the time. Like their licenses are different, and you can see oh, there's a state rep. Oh, there's a state rep. I think I drive around almost every day, and I can almost always find some representative's license plate driving around as well. I was just at a surgical center earlier today, and one pulled into the parking lot. So they're everywhere. It makes it easy to know them. So you can easily, and then they're paid $200 a year. Our representatives are not like other representatives at your state, I'm sure of it, where I think in Massachusetts, I can't remember how much money they are getting paid per year to represent you. Ours are paid $200, and they don't have an office at the State House. I think if they're lucky, they get a drawer. I'm not 100% sure of that. Maybe you know, Mark, because you were a state rep. Do you have a drawer? Did you get a locker?
Well, we got a locker, but you have to get in early because there are only 300 lockers for 400 state reps. So often we would share a locker.
So, I mean, I think that speaks huge to political freedom in New Hampshire. And I think it means that your state reps aren't there for a job. They're not there for the money. They're there to represent their constituency. And so if the constituency is leaning pro-liberty, they're going to be more inclined to represent you better because their purposes are more principled and just by nature of the job, I think. Maybe I'm wrong in that.
I know, I think you're right about that. In fact, in some states, they may pay $80,000 or $100,000 a year, like in Massachusetts or California.
Or New York.
Problem with that is then the legislator feels like he or she has to do something. Well, I'm getting paid, I need to be writing more bills or
they don't have to do anything and they're still it's going to get reelected and reelected. They don't even read their own bills. And, I don't know. I think $200 is, and then I think you do get mileage and tolls on top of it, but that's insane. But I think I don't mean in a bad way. I think it's great. I think it makes New Hampshire just more liberty leaning from that perspective, that the legislator is there not for the paycheck, not because they need the job. They're there for you.
I love that. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. We talked about getting elected at the state level for legislature. What about small town politics? And I understand there are a number of different boards where people who are libertarian or liberty oriented, can get elected just by being a good neighbor, and things like planning board, school board, budget committee, library committee, even something called a cemetery committee.
Oh,
what do you know about that?
You know more about it already than I do, I think. But yes, in New Hampshire, I mean, I know people run for zoning boards. And so there's so much going on at the local level, which NHLA doesn't really get involved in local politics. We tend to be at the state house. But your local stuff is where it's really happening. And so New Hampshire is promoting the individual and then local. So yes, you want to be on your school board, you want to be on your zoning board, you want to be in the library, whatever committee, if there's one. And you can easily do that here in the state of New Hampshire. They also do town meeting days some towns, not every town does town meeting days, which is the second Tuesday of March every year. And the whole town gets together. And I mean, you can put it on your calendar because they know when it is. It's like, I don't know, Christmas, you know exactly when it is. The second Tuesday in March, they have town meeting days where the town gets together and they vote on the town budget and they vote on warrant articles, I believe. Now, some towns don't do that anymore. Some towns just put it on a ballot and have everybody vote that way. You don't necessarily have to get together. Just depends on which town. So if you were going to move here from somewhere, you might want to check out how your town does things, because every town in New Hampshire can be quite unique and do things their own way.
For people who are not familiar, in New Hampshire, we have over 200 towns and cities, and there's a different type of government if you're in a city compared to a town. And this is a bit arcane, but even if you're in a town, then there are two slightly different ways of doing the local government. But the cities are much different. There are about 15 cities in New Hampshire, and they'll have their, everything is done on election day. They don't have this town meeting, but for the other 200 plus towns, which are fairly small in population, you can just go up and speak your mind when you're talking about the budget or some of the ordinance changes or the ballot initiatives. And it's a great way to get known in your community. And then the slide up right now is for how to run for office. The beautiful thing in these local town elections is that they're nonpartisan, whereas state legislature and state Senate races are Republican, Democrat, Libertarian if he or she is qualified, and whatever other party might have been qualified. At the town level, it's not that way. So you're really elected based on if people know you, if they like you. If you're a parent who goes to all the soccer games and baseball games for your kids, you can chat up the other people in the stands, and they get to know you in a non-political way. And that's often how our small L libertarian friends get elected to these boards and commissions that actually can have a pretty big impact on the way the town is run. In particular, the budget cycle and the zoning cycle.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what you should do. I totally support that. Get involved, however you can. I mean, get here and then get your feet under you, and then by all means, go make that difference.
All right, another question for you then, as we get closer to wrap up, is if people don't want to be a candidate, which we get, because sometimes it's tough, but how else can we as activists get involved in local and state politics in New Hampshire to really make an impact?
I say help out. You can help NHLA. You don't have to be a bill reviewer. We need volunteers for Liberty Dinner, which is coming up in July, where we're going to unveil our Liberty rating. We need volunteers to hand out the gold standard. So that is something, pretty much anybody can do. It is during the week, so, you have to have this availability, but that's an easy task that you can do to support Liberty, is just hand out that gold standard. You can go and hold signs for people when they're running. So, if, you can't run for whatever your reasons are, you're averse to that, by all means, support those that are. And if you can't support them with your dollars, which you don't need much of in the state of New Hampshire, you can run a pretty cheap campaign here and still get elected. But the best thing you could do is go, and we have sign waves, go hold signs for your candidate of choice and help them out that way. Be supportive of those who are doing the work, give them whatever assistance they ask for. So you don't have to put yourself out in the front. It's great if you can, but if you can't, find somebody that you can assist who already is. And that would be my 2 cents, is help those that are already doing the work.
That is great, great. Now, to whet the appetite of people who haven't yet moved here or still thinking about getting involved in Liberty Alliance and local politics in New Hampshire, give us an idea of some of the victories we've seen at the legislative level and the laws and statutes actually that Free State Project members and other liberty-friendly representatives have gotten passed in legislature in the last decade. Because from what I've seen, even though the Freedom Caucus may be half of the Republican majority, or a third or a quarter of the entire state legislative makeup, they've been very active and sort of outsized in their performance and accomplishments. And if you would touch on 2 or 3 or 4 of those, I think it will really inspire people to come here and do the same.
So I'm going to start with my favorite, which was in 2017, we got constitutional carry passed in the state of New Hampshire. And that I was there when the governor signed that. Because
and for those who are new to that, explain what that means, constitutional carry.
Constitutional carry is about firearms, and it is a law, or it allows you as an individual law-abiding citizen to carry your gun concealed or openly without permission, without a permission slip from the state. So you don't need a license, or if you call it a permit, whatever one it is, you don't need that to have a firearm in this state. You can you do still have to go through a background check because that's federal, but when you go to purchase a gun, you can say, I want this gun, I'm going to pay for it with this money, and you fill out your little background check form. They call out to whoever they need to call out, you pass your background check, they hand you that gun, and you're free to carry it out of the store on your person, in your pocketbook, which I don't recommend, but you can, and in your car, and you're perfectly legal. So that's constitutional carry in a nutshell. And that got passed. It used to be that you had to have a license from the state to carry concealed. My husband liked to say that it was a license to wear a coat. So once we got that through, you didn't need to do that anymore. And so many people in the state of New Hampshire carry openly, and many people are carrying concealed and you don't know it, and they haven't got a permission slip from the state to do it. So I really like that. And Maine has constitutional carry, and I think Vermont has constitutional carry. So we've got 3 states where you can just kind of go where you want and be carrying. And I think we're pretty safe. We're one of the safest states in the nation. So I love that. Another one of my favorite ones was the one about opting in. So non-academic surveys, students in school, they do non-academic surveys with students all the time. And it used to be that the parents had to opt their children out of those surveys. But in I can't remember what year it was, we changed it to they have to opt in, which is more liberty, right? So they're already, if you want my student to take a non-academic survey of some sort, you have to ask my permission as a parent to have them take that survey. So I like that is another good one that we got through. And let me see here, what else?
Well, speaking of education, of course, we have the educational freedom
Oh, the freedom
accounts here,
accounts, yeah.
which is amazing. It's one of the best in the country where parents can take some of the local tax dollars, use that to send the child to a school outside the district and help pay for tuition over there. So it lets the dollars follow the student. Instead of paying for institutions, you're paying for the children.
Yeah, that was huge. Kate Baker worked on that for a number of years and she got that through. We celebrated that big time. I think it was last year or the year before. I can't remember, but that was awesome. We repealed the death penalty in 2019, which, I don't want the government in charge of who lives or dies. I think that's just, I love that the death penalty is repealed. We all make mistakes, right? And so the government is famous for, not getting it right. So
I was there for that vote in the House, and they actually passed the House by one vote. It was very,
wow.
very close. Yeah.
Now that you say that, I think I remember that. Yeah. And I think it's a good thing that we repealed that. I'm happy with that. Another little one was in 2022, we expanded the raw milk options. So before, I think you could get raw milk in stores, but now we've extended it to frozen yogurt and ice cream. So, I mean, it's little things, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
why is the government even involved in telling us what kind of milk we can or cannot buy? But, it's incrementalism. It's the ratchet effect. We're ratcheting it in the right direction.
I think so. I mean, it's those little things. I think we can do better in New Hampshire on the occupational licensing side of things. That's a constant battle. I'd like to see us get, cannabis. It's not that we don't have our fights to win, but we're doing all right here. We are definitely pushing freedom forward.
Well, that's super exciting. I think people who live anywhere else in the other 49, the less free 49, will see this and they need to come up and visit and learn more about New Hampshire.
Well, take a look at that Cato Institute, right? The Cato Institute.
Freedom in the 50 states rating.
Yes, and New Hampshire was #1. And so I do think that if you're really interested in it, and that was before the COVID stuff happened. And so Cato did come out and say that we'll be impossible to catch. But my thing at NHLA is as soon as people say you're impossible to catch, people start to rest. And I don't want to hear it. We're not resting in New Hampshire. We are pushing freedom forward. And I don't care how far ahead we get, we're going to keep going.
Well, it is amazing what you and New Hampshire Liberty Alliance are doing. Please tell the viewers where to find you, where to find your organization online and on social media.
All right. We are nhliberty.org online. On social media, you can find us on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Gab, and MeWe. New Hampshire Liberty Alliance is what we are. nhliberty.org, I think I said. You can email me if you go to nhliberty.org. I'm the chair, mcreem@nhliberty.org. And that's where you'll find us.
Melissa, that is great. I really appreciate your time. What you and your organization doing is just amazing to expand liberty in our lifetime here in New Hampshire. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.